Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, that darn Kitty.
Dorkus and I are sharing our experience reading The Way of Kings for the first time. Each episode, we will summarize what we've read and discuss the experience along the way.
This is Storming the Archives, The Way of Kings, and today we discuss Chapter 26.
Chapter 26!
Chapter 26, Stillness. Dalinar listens to a passage from The Way of Kings with Renarin. The passage is about a person in a monastery comparing the fragility and danger of candles to the lives of men. This sequence is a favorite of Dalinar's because it reminds him that someone, somewhere, had felt as he does now. He takes the book to place back on the shelf. Although he can't read the words, it seems as if he can feel them. Dalinar explains to Renarin that the book had once been a sought-after masterpiece. Now it's considered blasphemous. 2 High Princes have declined Dalinar's offer of a joint plateau assault. Dalinar asks Renarin who he thinks they should ask next, to which Renarin raises Adolin's concern that they should be more worried about Sadeas. Dalinar won't do anything that could risk Alethkar's security. He hopes Sadeas will think the same. Horns blare, signaling Parshendi spotted. Dalinar meets in his war room. He has a direct line to the plateau. With troop morale and the damaging rumors on his mind, Dalinar orders the march. He sends for Adolin. While Dalinar suits up, High Officer Taleb asks if Dalinar had thought about his bridge suggestion. Dalinar rejects the suggestion at first, but seeing Taleb's frustration, Dalinar remembers that a great officer innovates. He grants permission to train a single bridge crew. Suited up, Dalinar feels the thrill build up in him. He takes off sprinting, enjoying the strength the shard plate grants him. Captains inform Dalinar of the soldiers when Adolin arrives. Dalinar rides up to Adolin. You said what you felt you must. And I'm not sorry I did, but I am sorry for how and where I said it. That won't happen again. Dalinar nods and Adolin relaxes. They briefly discuss Adolin's latest girl, one who wants to witness the battle. As they're about to leave, they are alerted that Bright Lord Sadeas demands entrance to the war camp. Sadeas is admitted into the camp. He intends to join Dalinar on the plateau assault and interview soldiers on the way. Dalinar acquiesces, though Sadeas had the power to insist. They move slowly toward their destination. Once Sadeas finishes his interviews, he notes to Dalinar that they're all tremendously loyal to him. Sadeas calls Dalinar sanctimonious and insecure. Dalinar expressed regret over having killed people who did not deserve death. Sadeas asks if Dalinar still feels the thrill. Men don't often speak of the thrill, as it's considered a private thing. I feel each of the things you mentioned, Sadeas, but I don't always let them out. A man's emotions are what define him, and control is the hallmark of true strength. Sadeas disparages the Way of Kings, and reminds Dalinar that the Radiants betrayed them. Their powers were lies. Dalinar rejects that their powers were lies. Maybe they're just unworthy. Dalinar tells Sadeas that they need to work harder to unify the war camps, but Sadeas claims that's what he's already doing. It would be best for Alethkar if you'd start acting like a man again. That book ruined Gavilar. Now it's doing the same to you. Dalinar, angry, leaves, thinking of the words Gavilar had said 3 days before his death. Things are different now, Dalinar. I see now, in ways I never did before. I wish I could show you what I mean. At the sight of the battle, Dalinar feels the thrill rise within him as he asks Adolin if he's ready. The two summon their blades and charge, leaping over the chasm and slaying several Parshendi in a single blow. The two of them battle several Parshendi. The Parshendi sing while they battle. The thrill intoxicates Dalinar. It gives him clarity, focus, power. He needs to push harder, assault more plateaus, win more gem hearts. As he revels in his power, at the very height of his revelry, he feels a sudden, powerful revulsion, almost bringing him to his knees. The corpses around him become a horrifying sight. He doesn't understand how a man could enjoy this. He realizes he must continue to fight for Adolin, Gavilar, himself, and his men. The thrill begins to build up again. He reluctantly embraces it, but the sick feelings return. A voice inside him says, "Once these weapons meant protecting." Dalinar wonders what that voice is. Dalinar takes a glance at Sadeas, who appears disappointed at Dalinar's risky leap. The soldiers make it across the bridge. Reluctant but responsible for the soldiers, Dalinar joins the battle. After the battle, Adolin victoriously cuts out the Gemheart. Dalinar looks over the Parshendi corpses. He is exhausted. The thrill was subdued the entire battle. Dalinar wonders what is happening to him. He wonders if what Adolin and the others had been saying was right. Dalinar looks toward the origin. Dalinar sees the remnants of the army they had beaten retreating. A commanding figure stands at their head wearing shard plate. Dalinar wonders why the figure arrived then and not during the battle. The Parshendi leave. Let's start off with the epigraph. I am being chased. Your friends of the 17th Shard, I suspect. I believe they're still lost following a false trail I left for them. They'll be happier that way. I doubt they have any inkling what to do with me should they actually catch me.
Right. So we've got shards. What is that? Like not infantry, like a battalion, or what is that group? 17th shard.
This is all my theories,
Hmm.
but if we are presuming that this letter is to Hoid, or from Hoid, and if we are presuming that they are referencing Elantris stuff,
Hmm.
I'm wondering if 17th Shard means like a Cosmere quadrant or galaxy or something to that effect.
Oh, okay.
And I wondered if this is the folks we met in the first interlude,
Hmm.
and if like we are at their false trail, like we're
Oh,
following
okay.
them in the wrong place entirely.
Yeah, I see that. I understand. For me, the I was more on like just shard blade, shard bearers. It's more worldly. It's more of this world. I didn't think Cosmere-ish for that in that way. So, but I see what you mean here. It certainly fits with the interludes, and it would make sense that that's what he does with the interludes and the epigraphs. If these are these little breadcrumbs he leaves, that would make sense. So you're saying the just to reiterate, your this is basically Hoyd saying this.
Well, here's where my theories get a little bit muddied,
Mhm.
because I do think that Wit is Hoyd,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
But there are elements, and we know that interlude guys are looking for Hoyd,
Mhm.
but I think there's been a little bit of back and forth in my mind as to whether or not Epigraph Man is writing to Hoyd or is Hoyd writing to someone. And particularly in this context, where if we put interlude guys as being the ones that are on a wild goose chase right now,
Mhm.
would it be if they are in fact so close to Hoyd? Not necessarily, unless perhaps I'm feeling very Charlie Day meme right now. The person that we think is Hoyd is only pretending to be Hoyd, and Epigraph Man is in fact Hoyd.
And that is
There's nothing to suggest
uh
that.
okay. You know what? Good for you and your theories. That's all I'll say. I'm just you know me and
It,
the Hoyd and the Cosmere stuff. I'm like, cool. I'm in this story. Tell me what's happening in this story. I'll be very, very interested when you've revealed everything. Until then, I'm annoyed with you messing with my feelings. It's like normal epigraph frustration, but on steroids. It's like, okay, enjoy. Oh.
I'm I'm so looking forward to the point where we can put all of the epigraphs together and read them in one go. And we are
Mhm.
definitely going to do that, and we will definitely do it as a live stream, yeah?
Yes, definitely. Watch us. Well, watch me at least understand the theories finally. Live. It's a
That's
big
going to be
promise.
great. This chapter opens with a very large segment from Way of Kings,
Mhm.
and I got very much Eastern philosophy out of it, yeah?
Okay. Yeah, no, for me what I was busy with wasn't really where it comes from, is more in context again of the book. What we had in the previous chapter was, the responsibility of being able to help people, to basically having like their lives in your hand, and then having this thematically come in straight afterwards. I thought that was quite beautiful, because we had Kaladin's father having the responsibility of those people's lives, and now we have this candle, metaphor kind of thing going on, and we have this kind of view as well of, okay, this is the Almighty. This is what it's like to be the Almighty. You have power over these lives, but these lives you care about, so they can actually hurt you. So I was interested in this. Go on about the Eastern philosophy.
It just struck me as very the Tao, yin and yang.
Mhm.
You can tell something not from just its presence, but its absence as well.
Mhm.
Kind of an idea, Confucianism.
Mhm.
I'm not particularly well read in those subjects, but I know that there are distinctions between Eastern and Western philosophy, and that's kind of one of the hallmarks of it.
Mhm.
And that's what I got out of
Mhm.
this. But yeah, in terms of the story, this is very much the PTSD chapter,
Mhm.
and this comforting knowledge to Dalinar that someone felt as he had, and felt this tremendous responsibility and weight, and the dangers of responsibility and the weight is all present in this passage.
Yeah,
And it's his favorite passage.
I can see why it is, and just the idea of, one of my highlights is, to be given loyalty is to be infused like a gemstone, to be granted the frightful license to destroy not only oneself but all within one's care. That is just the main. This is the theme that we have repeated over and over in this book. Taking the responsibility of men's lives and getting their loyalty. What Kaladin is doing with the bridge crew. It's all over this book, and I'm very happy to see it weave all the way through.
Agreed. So there are so many topics that I really want to get into, but I don't really have an order for
Mhm.
doing them in.
Mhm.
But the big topic that I wanted to talk about is the thrill.
Mhm.
And like I said, this is the PTSD chapter, and he has some sort of internal attack on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Is everyone under some kind of bloodlust spell? Because I thought the thrill was more or less just a cultural way of referring to the adrenaline of battle.
Mhm.
And there's been evidence up to this point that it's been a bit more than that, and
Mhm.
I've accepted that. So when I just said the word just,
Mhm.
that's sort of that isn't entirely accurate to my presuppositions up to this point. But this, the way it's characterized in this chapter, really highlighted that I think part of what has influenced Alethi culture is some sort of massive charm person bloodlust spell that they undergo to make battle desirable to them. And then reluctant Dalinar at the end of the chapter rejoining the fight
Mhm.
for his men is, in my mind, like the most radiant thing that he could do. The terrible arts of killing to protect others. So there's this basis for which the world seemed to understand that killing is bad. We don't want to fight. We have
Mhm.
to fight. And I can imagine some sort of dark force being like, what if we made killing enjoyable so that these radiants don't have to suffer so much?
Mm.
And that going wrong or something.
Oh, okay, I get that. So that these radiants don't have to suffer. Okay. Hmm.
But that's and then
Theorizing.
like maybe that spiraled into the radiants turning authoritarian and betraying everyone. But I've monologued a lot. I'm in part rambling because I'm exploring these ideas as I'm saying them. But
Mhm.
what do you think of all of that?
I do feel like the thrill is more than just, more than just adrenaline. There might be something biological, something that is a lethe, something racial that they have in them that makes them work a certain way, that the thrill is something they experience. Then again, I do feel like Kaladin as well has that, he experiences the thrill as well.
Hmm.
I also just have the Wheel of Time influence here because in the Wheel of Time, the protagonist, the hero, he actually, the power that he draws on, which is the male half of basically this the essence of life and whatever. He draws on the male half, and that actually is tainted and can actually make you go mad. So when he does use the power, sometimes he actually gets nauseous, and it badly affects him. So I had that in mind when Dalinar basically just had the spell
Mm.
of that's basically what happened, is that the thrill became tainted and nauseating, and he couldn't tap into it. He couldn't tap into that power. Suddenly it was revolting. So that's what I had in my mind. I had exactly the same feeling of that's what happens when Rand uses the one power through the taint, basically, is what it's called. And then that being said, that makes me think about the the thing that men go through, the thrill. And that made me think of the theme of masculinity
Mm.
and basically just testosterone, what men are. And that's it's quite a cool thing for a man to be wrestling with, that you have, as a man, you have more power than women, and you have power over things. You have the thrill, I suppose, but you don't want the thrill to be all consuming. So control, as Dalinar himself has said in this chapter, control is a hallmark of strength. So you have to, that's the whole idea of being a man, is like you have all this strength, but you need to use it in the right way. So I enjoyed this is one of my favorite chapters, actually,
Yeah, it's
because
excellent.
of how deep, yeah, just the themes all over the place, but just the connection to real life. I love it.
Well, speaking of that topic and masculinity, we've got Sadius
Mhm,
being someone for Dalinar who's like basically saying, "Toughen up, Buttercup,"
mhm,
here, and I think that through this lens
mhm,
that you've placed, that is poignant
mhm,
because a couple of my notes for this chapter were, did Sadius want to go on the run because he's worried about Dalinar? And I think Sadius is more worried or concerned for Dalinar we than Dalinar thinks he is, because all of our impression of him we're getting through Dalinar's POV of him.
hmm,
So I think there's more to it from Sadius's point of view here.
mhm.
And
I didn't get that, but I see what you're saying. I didn't get that initially. I wasn't thinking of him being worried about Dalinar. It was more like he is being a pain in the ass to Dalinar. And
definitely, but
yeah.
we're getting it from his POV. Like,
Mhm,
Sadius didn't have to go on the run. He didn't have to say toughen up, Buttercup,
mhm,
so to speak. Speaking of which, I have to call out a set of lines.
mhm,
And Dalinar says, "I want your help." To do what? To do what needs to be done for the good of Alethkar. And I was so mad at Dalinar because that's an empty thing to ask for.
mhm.
Ask for a joint plateau assault, or be like, "I'm gonna be more aggressive. Let's work together." Something more than just the empty statement of "let's do what needs to be done." Because you already know you've disagreed with him in the past over what needs to be done.
Exactly. That's not worth discussing. We need to argue about what we think is worth doing. That's what the
Yeah,
discussion is about. But he's just that's just dancing around the actual issue. Like, you're wasting words here.
yeah.
Mm.
I I think there is a lot more rich inner life with Sadius that we're just not having access to at this
Mhm.
moment.
And we have sorry, another thing that I want that happens in this chapter is a lot is Dalinar confronting like, is this just look? He's done it before, but it's deeper this time where he's going, is this just me being insane? Like, is this just what my mind wants me is my mind making this up? Like he does question. He's like, wait, even the way he sees shard plates, he's like, why would my brain make shard plates suddenly know how to, like radiance know how to fly? Why would my brain decide that if it was just insanity, if it was just a fancy? Why is it giving me details that seem like my brain wouldn't put them there? So
Yeah.
there's that part of this chapter as well.
Which gets into one thing with Dalinar I really wanted to highlight was this idea of believing that they are unworthy of the secrets of the Radiance,
Mhm. They've
which was really interesting to me.
yeah, they've fallen from serving the Radiance, I suppose. They've fallen from yeah, from being able to do those things.
Right. Well, it speaks to a mindset of if I live my life by the virtues of the way of kings, I could be, it's almost Buddhist
Mhm.
on the topic of Eastern philosophy. I
Yeah.
will be enlightened. I can reach enlightenment and be rewarded. I don't know about Buddhism and like rewards and what have you, but for the purposes of this book, rewarded with the secrets of the radiance, which may or may not be true. It definitely. I'm so all over the place with this chapter right now. Back to the bloodlust spell, it
Mhm.
does make me wonder if both Gavilar and Dalinar, who had the book read to them repeatedly ad nauseum, if that is like breaking the bloodlust spell, if there is in
Ah.
fact one.
Yeah, I don't feel like there is an actual bloodlust spell, but I see your theory. I think it's more like the Way of Kings shows you how to direct the bloodlust of being a testosterone fueled machine. So the Way of Kings gives you it's an instruction manual. It makes you it gives you control. It's like stoicism and things like that. It gives you control over this immense power that you have, both as a king and as a man. So yeah, I feel like that's going back to that would be like defeating a bloodlust spell, whether it's real or not.
Yeah.
Mm.
The book wants its rulers to be Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah. And just that also just another thing that just makes me go, oh, the fact that he can look at a book and not he can't read. It just makes me go, about their culture. It's so impractical.
I agree. But the big thing on that is he can almost feel the words on the page.
Yeah.
So there's something magical going on.
Ah,
I
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
confident.
True. Yeah, they're speaking to him. That's true.
And now we have to address the bridge crew of it all.
Yes.
So Dalinar finally grants his commanders, or one of his commanders, permission to train up a bridge crew. And I'm wondering if Dalinar will freaking finally ask Sadius to do a joint plateau assault, and he'll be like, "Hey, can I borrow one of your bridge crews so we can test some stuff
Hmm.
out instead of training up their own?" Because that would be a great way to. It's like, hey, I'm not asking you for soldiers. I'm just asking you for some of your slaves to
Yeah.
uh, and it'll look like we're unifying. It'll be a show of trust. There's so much to be gained, and I'm not asking you a lot. And that's how we'll get Kaladin into the because Kaladin is the problem bridge crew for Sadius. That's how we'll get Kaladin over to
Uh,
Dalinar's camp.
okay, I see it. I see it. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I see what you mean. I like that idea. I don't think so, but that makes sense. It would be such a diplomatic way to go about this unification. I honestly, actually, just that makes me think of what I was experiencing in the beginning of this chapter when I saw that Sadius was there. I was like, oh, maybe Sadius lands up helping them, and then it actually is a joint assault, even just because Sadius is on the run with them, just by chance. But that obviously didn't happen. So yeah, I suppose if we do get a joint run, that is how it makes sense that Kaladin would land up there. The only thing we do currently have is just the promise that they're going to have a bridge crew trained. I don't know if it's gonna it's gonna come all the way to Kaladin being on Dalinar's bridge crew yet, but we'll see.
Gosh, what else is there? Adolin
Mhm.
and Dalinar, they hash it out in a very communicative way.
Yeah. It's less, and it's also it's a very masculine way.
Yeah.
It's just, "Listen, basically, I'm sorry about look, I'm sorry about this, not sorry about everything, okay? And we reconcile quickly by basically handshaking before we go and do what men do, kill kill our enemies and protect our people." That's what, so, like, they reconcile quickly because they have to work together on the battlefield. And yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought that was a good thing. That I like that Adelin's like, "Look, I'm not sorry for what I said, I'm just sorry for how I said it and when." So it's like, and that still sticks with him. We had that from Dalinar. He was properly struck by what his son said to him because it came from his son. So he is confused about what he's supposed to do with all of this. I'm worried. Just makes me go back to him not feeling the thrill properly. This is we do need them to be able to tap into the thrill
Yeah.
in these battles. Also, so that makes me also just ask you, what do you think about that shard bearer, or not shard bearer, just guy in shard plates?
The Parshendi.
The Yeah.
I wondered if the first off, he's definitely giving off main character energy, or if not main character, important character energy.
Yes.
He will return. That is what I got from that.
Yes. We'll figure out who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. The other important thing that I noted was that the Parshendi sing during battle.
Mhm.
I did wonder if that had an element of removing the bloodlust or the thrill from
Ooh.
Dalinar in the chapter, especially because it came around this time where he was like,
Mhm.
they hate when their fallen brethren, the corpses of the Parshendi, get like crushed and kicked and trampled so
Moved, yeah.
frequently. The
Mhm.
the shard bearers will desecrate the corpses or, teabag them to
Mhm.
enrage them.
Yeah.
Again, it speaks to what the thrill does to you, which seems to tint the battle with rose-colored glasses.
Mhm. Yeah, it does. I don't think that the singing is an actual thing that caused the lack of thrill, or the disruption in the thrill, because that would have happened several times before. That's a
But he
normal
hasn't
thing that
been
they do.
going on very many assaults.
Yeah, but he's done it before. He's done it before, so this shouldn't have happened. If this was, maybe he's become more susceptible to it, so that I can accept that the only reason it's having an effect on him now is because he's undergoing some sort of transformation because of the Way of Kings, and something like that is going on. But I don't know. Otherwise, it's just coincidental. Mm,
Yeah.
Um,
Either way,
yeah,
it's a neat little
very cool.
uh, world building element. I like that the
Hmm.
Parshendi
Yeah.
sing during battle.
Hmm. And that they are like, don't they really are properly angered by moving their dead being moved. I liked the little notes of just, that is how the shard bearers, or how the Alethi, they use it against them. They're like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. This, we've noticed this is a weakness they have. Let's use it against them. So,
Can we talk about Gavilar's words 3 days before his death?
hmm,
Am I the only one here thinking that he was getting the visions from the Almighty too?
no, you're not. You're not,
Okay,
because I was like, oh, okay, so now it's just passed on to him because he's the next one.
exactly.
That's what I felt. Absolutely.
Next time Dalinar speaks to the voice, he should ask, did you talk to Gavilar before me?
Yeah, just why not? But who knows whether he gets responses. It seems like that it just talks to him and says what needs to be said. Sometimes he gets yes, trust them. Sometimes he doesn't. I don't know. It's a very inconvenient voice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anything else to say in this chapter?
Uh, Rashadians are cool. I love those horses. Um,
Very smart
but yeah.
animals.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's about it, I think. Otherwise, I'll get myself in chat to make sure that I've said something.
Excellent. Well, then, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week. Subscribe to that darn Kita if you get a chance. And we'll see you next time. Okay, thanks, bye.
Okay, thanks, bye.